Where there is no imagination, there is no horror, a quote by Arthur Doyle. And let me tell you, these mangas definitely do not lack any imagination. In today's video, I'll be going over my top 10 manga to read for this Halloween. So please like and subscribe and comment down below which manga you plan on reading or would recommend. Thank you for watching, now on to the video. The first manga I'll be talking about is Dead-Tube, clocking in at 24 volumes in 101 chapters, and currently is still ongoing. The story follows our main character Tomohiro, a high school student in the film club. Currently, he's been struggling to find what it takes to make the best and most exciting film. Everything lately has just been so dull and boring for Tomohiro. That is until he's approached by a girl named Mai. Mai asks Tomohiro to film her 24/7 for 2 days straight, no matter what happens. He does so willingly and starts falling for her. Then on the final day of filming, Mai requests Tomohiro to film her on a date with his bully. Tomohiro still continues to film, even while the two are doing the act. And just as he's thinking to himself how boring this is, Mai unalives the bully right in front of him, asking Tomohiro if he filmed it all beautifully. This was the moment that Tomohiro was waiting for. This was the start of his awakening. That is the world of Dead-Tube, a site that rewards its most viewed video with millions of dollars. Whoever has the least amount of views will experience a fate far worse than death. We now follow Tomohiro and Mai as they both aim for the top, fulfilling their twisted desires. For this manga, I would recommend reading the first 7 chapters, so you get a good idea of what the series has to offer. The main things that kept me reading this manga is that I really had no idea what was going to happen. There are constantly twists and turns that kept me wanting to read to see what happens next. I also enjoyed seeing the transformation of Tomohiro, from this timid and not very confident character that can't accept that he might enjoy participating in these types of films, to a sadistic power trip director coming up with various ideas on how to create the best film that Dead-Tube wants. I will say fair warning to anyone who wants to read this series, there is a lot of gore, tons of nudity, and a huge mixture of both. And to say that this is a perfect 10 out of 10 manga, that would be a lie, but it is over the top and edgy for edgy's sake. I put it in the vein of loving B-horror movies. Also a fun fact, this is the same author who did the manga Tomodachi Game. Number 2. Bibliomania. This manga is only 1 volume with 12 chapters, but it is completed. Bibliomania follows the story of Alice, a girl who awakes in a strange room. As long as she stays in this room, she can have anything her heart desires. All of this is explained to her by a being named Serpent, who also explains to Alice that she is in a manor and she is one of the guests. Once the manor reaches 666 guests, there will be a giant party, and they will be there for all of eternity. But Alice wishes to leave her room and go into the real world. She is warned by Serpent that if she leaves her room, eventually she'll rot away and die. But despite this warning, Alice decides to go anyway. We then follow Alice as she journeys through 430 rooms trying to reach room 0 and escape. What I really liked about this manga was the art style and concept. There's also a looming threat and mystery besides the possibility of Alice rotting away, but I won't spoil that. Overall, there really isn't a reason not to read this one with how short it is. Also, there's not much for me to complain about with this manga. I really only wish there was more of it, focusing on more rooms and expanding on more concepts that the manor and the people itself represent as a whole. And let's just say the ending is kind of crazy as well. I would also highly recommend watching this MMV of Bibliomania, made by Mickle Pickle. Link in the description for that. He does an amazing job showcasing this manga. Number 3. Jinmen. This manga has 13 volumes and 95 chapters. It is completed, but there is a slight caveat to this. There are only 44 chapters translated in English. This manga has been around since 2016 and finished in 2019, but even despite this, I still recommend the manga, and here's why. Jinmen is a story about animals gaining human faces and human intelligence. It follows Misato, a high schooler who has always loved animals and had a special connection with them. He spent his youth at Fuji Safari, and he developed a one-of-a-kind friendship with an elephant named Hanayo. But he had moved away for 7 years and now is finally able to return to his favorite place on Earth. But after a new director took over, the place has completely transformed. Both the animals and the workers are acting strangely. But despite this, Misato has made plans to go on a date with his childhood friend Hitomi. When the day of the date arrives, they are both surprised to see that the zoo has seemingly been abandoned. While exploring the abandoned zoo, they see in the distance a man getting mauled by a cheetah, and it smiles at them with a human face. Now Misato, Hitomi, and one of the zookeepers that Misato is super close with named Nakata try to survive in this horrible situation, where animals are able to talk and plan on becoming the dominant species on Earth. Now, I read this manga back when it was first getting translated, and I was instantly hooked. It's one of the first series that got me into reading manga in the first place. It was such an interesting concept with such a strong start, and the art of the animals blew me away. It was mainly just people trying to survive and cope with the new, constantly evolving world, and Masato using his knowledge of animals to try and figure out ways to survive situations that he was in. So if you like the sound of that, I would suggest pausing and reading up until the 24th chapter, because now I'm going to talk about what I didn't like. After the 24th chapter, it kind of took everything that makes the manga great and threw it all away. Instead of a horror manga, I think it kind of turns into more of a battle shonen, to me completely destroying the mysticism of the whole series. If you want to know how this series ends, I suggest you go watch this video by Trippy Chris, link in the description. But all in all, despite those things, I would still recommend this series. Number 4, Hideout. This manga has 9 chapters and it's 1 volume and fully completed. The story follows our main character Kirishima. After the death of his son, he tries to reconnect with his wife, Miki. So he convinces Miki to go to an island for a vacation. And on this island, there's a waterfall that's supposed to rekindle love and bring happiness to couples. That's what Kirishima wants Miki to believe. I'll leave you with that as a little teaser. Let's just say for everyone involved, things go from bad to worse. Overall, I really enjoyed this manga. Again, there's no reason not to read all of it with how short it is. I can guarantee that once you pick it up, it'll be hard not to finish it. Now for the cream of the crop, or the manga that I would recommend the most for this video. That is my number 5 slot, Franken Fran, coming in at 8 volumes, 61 chapters, and is completed, along with another direct sequel with 10 volumes and 63 chapters and currently still ongoing. Franken Fran has turned into one of my favorite mangas just in general. The plot of the story is very simple. There's a gothic mansion in a remote part of Japan that's home to the greatest surgeon, but for some time now he has been MIA, so in his place is his daughter Fran, who's an equally skilled surgeon. Fran is willing to do almost anything as long as you're able to pay. She also has the belief that all life should be saved no matter the cost, but the way Fran goes about it might not be what you expected. Each chapter kind of follows a person with a problem. Let me give you an example from the first volume. A father goes to Fran because his son passed away from a car accident, so he came to Fran because he heard that she can raise the dead. She agrees to help this father. The way she ends up helping him is knocking him out with anesthesia, performing surgery on him and his dead son while the father is still awake, then fusing their brains and heads together, thus essentially raising the dead. And that is what I love about this manga. Each story is almost in a sense a lesson, or to be a careful what you wish for story, like how old fairy tales used to be, or maybe something akin to the Twilight Zone. Then you tie all that together with great body horror and manga panels, with a dark sense of humor sprinkled on top. There's also kind of an overarching story, mainly it being the mystery of Fran's father and the things tied to him, but most of the chapters are self-contained. All in all, I can't recommend this manga enough. Number 6, Pumpkin Night. At 8 volumes and 117 chapters, currently still ongoing, Pumpkin Night is about a girl named Nako, who got severely bullied in school. The bullying was so bad that they disfigured her face and she was sent to a mental institution. But now Naoko has escaped and set her sights on her bullies, to enact her twisted form of justice by killing them off one by one in the name of revenge. I would recommend at least reading 33 chapters, because it kind of wraps up the first arc in a nice little package. I would also say anything after this is more ridiculous, and just enjoy the ride if you continue further, not taking things too seriously. Overall, it's kind of in a similar vein to DeadTube, and the fact that it's more of a B series with excessive violence and gore. But I think in what it does relatively well. The art is very good, and Naoko as Pumpkin Night is also pretty funny. You can tell it's just kind of a love letter to the slasher and horror genre in general. So if you like Friday the 13th or Scream, I think this will be right up your alley. Also, I don't normally say or recommend this, but unless you want a meme translation, I suggest that you look for the official release of this manga, because whoever decided to translate this is probably just as unhinged as Pumpkin Night. Number 7, Human Race for Food, also known as Starving Anonymous. It has 7 volumes and 62 chapters, and it is complete. The story follows our main character Ie. After hanging out with his friend Kazu, they both take the bus to go home. But while on that bus, gas starts filling up and they are knocked out. Ie awakes and he sees he's in some type of human breeding facility, where people are being fattened up and shipped like cows. Ie is led to an area where he sees Kazu already being fattened up, but luckily for Ie, he encounters 2 people wanting and planning to escape, Yamabiki and Natsune. While trying to escape, they all discover why this facility was made. It's for these giant insect-like creatures that eat people like they are a snack. Now we follow the squad as they try to escape and really figure out what's going on. I would recommend that you at least read 5 chapters to get a good feeling on how the story is going to go and play out, with the themes and concepts that are introduced. aliens, human breeding, and the ways that can go, messing with human and animal genetics to make some new form of human evolution. I will say some of the things in the manga that happen are awfully convenient, but all in all it was a fun read with a satisfying ending. Number 8. I Am a Hero. At 22 volumes and 265 chapters, this manga is complete. I Am a Hero follows the story of Hideo Suzuki, a 35-year-old manga assistant. He's very eccentric and a quirky guy who struggles with a lot of mental issues, constantly seeing things and chanting to himself. He lives a pretty mundane life with nothing really going for him, but despite that, he always tells himself, I am a hero, and musters on. That is until something strange happens. Hideo witnesses a lady get hit by a car and get right back up, but that just must be a hallucination, right? He brushes this off and then goes to bed, until the next day while heading to his gun club practice. He stops to see his girlfriend, but Hideo notices something is off. His girlfriend is trying to pull him through a door and bite him. Unbeknownst to Hideo, he is now surviving the zombie apocalypse. We follow him on his journey as he truly becomes a hero, where the mundane and the insane are one and the same. I'd recommend that you at least read the first 2 volumes of this manga. It's a bit slow for the first volume, but once you reach the second one, it starts to really pick up. If I could describe this manga, it's kind of like a fever dream with stellar art. You're experiencing a zombie apocalypse through perhaps an unreliable narrator. If you like The Walking Dead, then I can definitely say you'll like this series. I just warn that it kind of feels slow at points, but if you can bear through it, it's really worth the read. Number 9. Mieruko-Chan. At 11 volumes and 60 chapters and currently still ongoing, Mieruko-Chan follows the story of Miko, a high school girl who can see dead people, ghosts, and monsters. Instead of running away or acknowledging these things, she chooses just to ignore it. We follow her day-to-day life as she tries to muster through this horrible ability she gained. I would recommend that you at least give this a 1-chapter try. If you read further than that, it may seem at first it's a lot of the same thing, just Miko seeing things and trying to ignore them. But as the story progresses and characters are introduced, it becomes a whole lot more. With lots of world building and seeing how the author twists your perception of characters, I can say for sure I was completely tricked by one character, which is something that I really appreciate when it comes to manga. You can't take everything at face value. Also, I can't forget to mention how great the art is. The contrast between the simple and clean characters and the dark and gritty monsters is a real treat to the eyes. It's truly amazing to me how many designs this author can come up with. And finally, rounding off this list, my number 10, High School of the Dead. With 7 volumes and 30 chapters, unfortunately, this series will forever be on hiatus due to the author passing away. But I feel like with all that we got with the author, it's still worth recommending. And the plot of the manga is kind of in the name itself. It's about a bunch of high schoolers in the zombie apocalypse, specifically Takashi and his childhood friend Rei, as they both escape their high school and pick up any other survivors along the way. But honestly, I would recommend watching the anime first before reading the manga, to get a general idea if you'd like it or not. And if you do continue and want to read it, the anime ends at chapter 17, which essentially gives you another half of material to read and enjoy. The main takeaways I have with this series is that it has a good mixture of horror, action, and fan service. This series also has a lot of references to other horror media, and even just real-world stuff as well. Also a fun fact, and something I didn't know, that the author and the artist are not the same when it comes to this manga. So if you enjoy the art style of High School of the Dead, the artist is still alive and is making a series called Triage X, which is very similar to High School of the Dead, but with 28 volumes and 143 chapters, and is currently still ongoing. It also has an anime, but I read online that it would just be better to read the manga for this one. And there you have it. Those were my top 10 manga to recommend for this Halloween. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down below if any caught your eye, or if there's any that you would recommend as well. I've been Boogdagoob. Thank you for watching. Peace.